We'll go ahead and get started. I believe that people's time is valuable, and so I believe in starting the meeting on time. I used to start my classes on time. Gentlemen? Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody here on behalf of the Friends of Pownal. As an organization, one of our missions is to encourage civic engagement. And we've been doing this now, candidate forums, for a number of years. And it has always been a wonderful opportunity to get to know the candidates a little bit better. Before I sort of lay out the agenda for the evening, and everybody should have a paper with the agenda, has a list of all the candidates. Things will be done in alphabetical order, but on the back of that is the candidates and the positions they're running for. So you can know who's contending for the same position. But first, I want to first of all thank the elementary school for allowing us to use this space. And we say we want this set up, and we walk in and everything's ready to go. We don't have to do anything, which is wonderful. And for the select board also, because without them giving permission for us to be here and covering the event under their insurance, we couldn't do this. So I want to thank both of those groups. I want to thank people who, I won't name names on this, but people who contributed to the treats tonight. And mostly, I want to thank the candidates for coming, because without your willingness to participate in this event wouldn't happen. And so I want to thank everybody, and then for the citizens here, without you, it doesn't happen either. So everybody in this room right now is very important to this process. The way the evening will go is we have a number of candidates. We have 15 candidates running. We've said that they have invited them to do a little 2-minute presentation, and that sounds like not much. You can say a lot in 2 minutes. We have a timekeeper. Ruth is going to keep time, and she will let people know when they have 30 seconds left, and then she'll let them know when their time is up, and that means sort of finish your sentence, and that's it. After all of the candidates have had a chance to come up, give their little presentation, and then go back to their seats, then we're going to have a Q&A session for the candidates who have contested positions, basically the people who are running for select board. And so all of those candidates will then come up here, and the audience will be encouraged to ask their questions. You can ask the question to a single candidate, but after they've answered that, then every other candidate will have the opportunity to also answer that question. Or you can say you want everybody to answer your question. So you can pose it to a particular individual, or you can just ask it in general. Okay, so are there any other questions? Dave Lowe is going to be our moderator, and he will sort of give an overview, and also he will set the parameters for questions and things like that. So I do want to say one thing in deference, or maybe, are you going to say about the pause?
I will.
Okay, you can do it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Dave Lowe. He moderated last year's group, and I know you're in good hands.
Nice to be invited back. Fun to do. Least I could do to contribute to the process. And as I said last year, it gives me the chance once a year to tie a tie. So that's not bad. Gratitude as well, of course, to the Friends of Pownal, not only for organizing this, but for what you guys do for the town broadly in so many areas. We very much appreciate that. And gratitude, as Rosemarie already indicated, to people who have been on the select board. We are one of those towns, like so many small towns, that depends upon the goodwill and the hard work of its citizenry to oversee and forge the future path of our town. And those of us who sit on the sidelines are particularly grateful to those of you who are willing to step into the fray, onto the field, whatever the metaphor, and do the hard work of representing us. So thank you very much, both to those of you who have already done so and those who are considering this time around. The second comment I'd like to make is it has to do with civic responsibility, and it's timely, I think, as it was last year. Lots of us get frustrated by what's going on in Washington. Sometimes there's the temptation to say this damn system just doesn't work. Well, it does work, and it works here, and it has to work here in the small towns, and we are the people who make it work. So I think rather than becoming despondent, depressed about what does or does not happen on the national scene, it's all the more important that we dig in and we do it well here in Vermont and here in Pownal. And here are the people who are going to do it, both by representing us and for the rest of us by supporting them and promoting the process. So let's go about it carefully. Let's listen to one another. Let's compromise where necessary. Let's lead with integrity. And let's vote broadly and responsibly come March in Vermont's unique town meeting process. No government shutdowns for Pownal, Vermont. So I think the process is already laid out. People will speak in order, but we need to have you come to the mic, even though you feel you might project well without it. We need that for Beck and Cat TV. Thank you very much. And you're going to tell us if we're not working well enough for you, whether we need to adjust.
I will try to remind people. I'm not very aggressive, though, so do your best so I don't have to yell.
And when it comes to questions, Beck, do we need to, I guess we have to have the questioner come forward as usual and to use the mic. Awkward as that may seem, it's important for the process. So, am I right? We're just going to go right into having people speak in order, and then we will move to the Q&A. For the sake of efficiency, and we have a lot to cover in a relatively short time, we ask please for no applause and no comment. This is civil discourse. It's information sharing and information gathering. It's not a debate. It's not cross-examination. It's not an interview. So let's proceed accordingly and get as much information shared as productively and constructively as we can. So I will get my list and we will get right down to business with Mr. Ron Hassan. You have to come to the mic.
I'm Ron Bizon. Most of you people know me here anyway. I spent my formative years in Pownal growing up, and I don't really have too much to say. I'm somewhat educated. I do a lot of reading. I worked almost 40 years in manufacturing. I met a lot of people. I get along with people, even though sometimes I'm a little loud and a little harsh. But I don't hold grudges, and I want to see the town move forward. I think we've done a tremendous job as far as equipment for the highway department and things like that. We've got some of the nicest stuff. I wouldn't even imagine this 15 years ago. We got some nice stuff. And I don't like it when people argue a lot. If you got something to say, just say it and be done with it. And also, if I don't know the answer, I won't answer. I'll get back to the person. I'm not going to give them a spin on something. I don't do that. And I've been known for telling the truth. I guess that's about all I got to say, folks. Thank you.
I knew I didn't have to remind Ron about time length, but I think I forgot to say that you will have 2 minutes, and Ruth will, right here, very boldly hold up a 30-second and a stop if we're running too long. So, alphabetically, staying with the Bizon family, Wendy.
Good evening, friends in Pownal. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Wendy Jordan Bizon, and I'm eager to be part of the Pownal Town Office team. I'm on the ballot for one of the listers positions that is available, and I'm running for said position because I saw a need locally and I'm available to fill the need. I've been a Pownal Valley resident for 20 wonderful years, and I've spent most of those years as a food service director at Grace Christian School. Having never before held a food service position of this capacity, I was called to fill the need and filled it and hit the ground running and never looked back. I've had the privilege of being part of a startup institution and a significant contributing factor to the growth of the lunch program at that small school. There were challenges, joys, and growth for me at GCS. The challenge of learning to feed 80 to 100 people a day, the joys of seeing happy children daily and having the honor of filling their hungry bellies, and being witness to the growth of the school and in myself. All my time there holds deep-seated place in my heart. I've had many opportunities throughout the years to contribute back to the community by actively participating in roles for the CareNet Banquet, silent auctions, craft shows, summer camp cook, Night to Shine, Math Olympics, just to name a few. A number of years ago, I decided it was best for me to retire from GCS and begin a new chapter. So I began a home-based business which allowed me to get out, stretch my legs, so to speak, meet new people. I had the excitement of traveling nationally with my now lifelong friends. My business did well, but through rebranding, I decided to liquidate my assets. As of late, I've focused primarily upon the growth and success of our family business, which my husband has built from our home garage. I'm excited to say that with the help of my family and friends, we've expanded the facility on Route 7 in Pownal. What I hope to achieve in the event of my being voted in is a cohesive, productive, efficient work atmosphere with all avenues in town productivity flow effortlessly due to my daily contributions. Thank you for your time.
John Bushy?
Thank you, first of all, thank you everybody for coming tonight. Thank you, Cat TV. I just want to go into, just saying a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here. I went to Mount Anthony. I was a two-time captain up there at the wrestling team. Most people probably have heard from me about wrestling somewhere along the lines. Also, I went to Norris University Military School. I was a two-time captain up there on a wrestling team. Also, I progressed and moved forward with doing leadership stuff there. I wound up graduating there from Norwich as a captain. I also wound up taking care of hotel company. I became a commander in that. Was in charge of over 180 people, men and women there. After graduation, built my house right here in Pownal. Lived there ever since. Also, I have owned a couple of different businesses. My first business was a tree service business. I ran for 15 years. I currently run two other businesses, one right here in town and one in Bennington. I also am currently on the DRB board here in town, and I am on the EDC board for economic development, and I'm hoping to move and get more businesses in town that way. I'd also like to let you know that one of the things I'm going to be looking forward to doing is, if I get elected in, is working for programs for seniors, schools issues here that we've been having with the Act 46 and things like that. I want to work close to those. Recreation for all in the town. I want to work on the town hall. The ATV ordinance things that are going on, there's a lot of discussion on that going around. I like a little bit less government instead of the higher stuff. Thank you.
Mike George.
Hello, I'm Mike George, lifetime resident of the town of Pownal. Through my years in Pownal, I devoted over 20 years to our local fire department, at which time I also kicked in and helped out in the local rescue squad. Through the years, Some of you might recognize me as your Little League coach. I coached the Little League for a number of years, and I was also president of the league, the Little League for years. Also the Pownal Farm League. I put in a lot of years there. I was also president and still a member of the Bennington Horseshoe Club, where I was inducted into the Hall of Fame 5-6 years ago in Vermont. Back to Pownal, I worked for Republic Service out of Cheshire, Mass. for 22 years, driving truck. So I'm in the waste business. I know a lot of you don't know what's coming down the river about waste. I do. And there's going to be a lot of changes going on, and a lot of transportation, different things and stuff like that. And there's going to be an eye-opener pretty soon. Some of you might know China no longer wants our recyclables. Your prices are going to go high. So, as quoted in the second ward, I'd be working with the transfer station, to try to help things along and this and that. But other than that, I'm looking forward to your vote, and that's about it, I guess.
Brian Harris.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Harris, and I'm running for a one-year select board position. I'm a lifelong resident of Pownal. I'm married, and I have two daughters. I was born here in Pownal, and God willing, I'll be buried in this town. I am running because I feel I'm an honest, caring person and genuinely want the best for the town of Pownal and all of the residents. I feel with there being 4 open seats on the board, there's a chance to get some fresh voices and perspectives on the board. It is time for the people of Pownal to be heard, and I would like to be their voice. I feel that for far too long, our voices as citizens of Pownal have not been fully listened to. I intend to try to stop the mistrust and disengagement and to encourage the people of the town to get involved and speak up. I'm a production cell leader at Command Composites, and on a daily basis, I deal with many different personalities. Whether I agree with what people are saying or not, I am always willing to listen to their perspectives and try to grasp an understanding of where they're coming from and gain new knowledge from this. I feel I can also do this for the residents of Pownal. I will bring your concerns to the board to be addressed, as well as share new ideas. My family and I enjoy getting outdoors and taking advantage of all that Pownal has to offer. I'm hoping to see more families and children move into our town. I would like to see this quiet, beautiful town keep its integrity, but I'm hoping to see economic growth. I would like to see our public lands and waterways be more utilized. Many feel that creating additional recreational trails would be a great start to this. Another thing I would like to work on is the cleaning up of some of the abandoned properties in our town that are creating health and safety hazards, along with many other issues needing to be addressed. I intend on helping the board follow the laws of the state of Vermont and the town of Pownal. I will be professional and respectful of everyone's opinions. I hope you will vote for me on March 5th and give me the opportunity to help this great town. Let me be an ear for the people to talk to and a voice for them to be heard. I believe this is what residents in the town of Pownal deserve. Thank you.
Tim Holbrook.
I'd like to make a clarifying statement before Tim comes up. On the here, it says he's up for moderator. This is town moderator. He's actually up for 2 different moderator positions, both for the town and for the school board.
It's the school board member.
Okay, it's a school board member. Okay.
Not the local schools.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, everybody. Quite a few years ago, when I became interested in the town, Charlie Palmer gave me a call when he was going to retire, and he asked me if I would become moderator. And I was honored to have him feel that he was confident enough in me to ask me to serve in that position, and I've enjoyed it. And it's nice to be able to do something in the town, for the town, when you have a chance to meet them personally. In terms of running for the Mount Anthony School Board, I've been associated with the school for a long time, and I'm a great believer in education. I'm a believer in what we can accomplish within the schools. It is a difficult position because we have many things that we are concerned about. We're concerned about good education, and at the same time we're concerned about the financial impact that that education places on the members of the community. So I just want to assure you that I will do everything I possibly can, if elected, to continue to provide the best education we possibly can for our kids at a reasonable cost. Thanks.
Donna is not here, but Steve McKay will speak for Donna Mazan. And Steve, will you clarify your relationship?
Yes, sir. My name is Steve McKay. I am Donna's fiance. Before I read her statement, Donna apologizes that she can't be here as she's attending an important BCRC meeting regarding the impact of large-scale wind turbines in bear habitats, and issue she feels passionately about. So on to Donna's statement. Sure. I was born and raised in Bennington. My father ran Lozon Machine, and my mother was a housekeeper. I have a degree in criminal justice and currently work for the University of Vermont in St. Peter's Episcopal Church. If elected, my public service will follow 3 values: community, responsibility, and trust. Our community deserves opportunities. I want to support the needs of young families, seniors, and everyone in between. I'll encourage large and small employers, support events led by the town, coexist with all outdoor enthusiasts, and allow for change that does not infringe on our individual rights. I will champion ideas of growth, be family-centered, and dedicated to the people. Select board members have a responsibility to the people of Pownal, a fiduciary responsibility with taxpayer money, and an ethical responsibility with how they govern. Responsibility to me means taking the time to thoroughly look at all proposals, grants, and concerns of citizens. We must be responsible in renewable siting, clean drinking water, keeping taxes low, supporting our schools, land use, excessive regulations, and control spending. It's a duty of the public office officials to hold public trust and be transparent. While I have the support of folks like the President of Gun Owners of Vermont, I can say that I am not now, nor will I ever be, indebted or beholden to any individual, official, or group in an effort to undermine citizens' ability. Citizens deserve to be treated with respect, compassion, and with understanding for their individual circumstances. I believe we must follow rules and procedures and remember that we are to represent the citizens of Pownal. I would maintain a cohesive relationship with our town clerk and be unified in a common belief that Pownal matters.
Fred Miller.
I am Fred Miller, and I'm running for the remaining 1 year of Nelson Brownell's 3-year term. I'm a lifelong Pownalite, and I'm very pro-individual freedoms and local control of our government and schools. I strongly support both the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Vermont, and I believe local governments are absolutely beholden to both. As a lifelong learner with a master's degree, I have an analytical mind, and I can determine what the underlying causes of a problem are and help fix broken things. I have the ability to stand up and question things that seem unfair and out of line with the actual needs of the community. I have the tenacity to stand firm on my beliefs. I have the willingness and ability to advocate for those who find it hard to do so for themselves. Over the past 2 years, as an outspoken citizen, I successfully argued to incorporate positive language pertaining to the past and present of Pownal into the new town plan. I have deeply studied our local government through attendance at select board meetings, special events, and participation as a member of the Development Review Board and in the Planning Commission as Vice Chairman. And that brings me to why I'm running. I'm sick of the circus atmosphere that surrounds our local politics and government. This stifles a sense of pride in our community and negatively impacts our ability to grow an economy. This needs to stop immediately. As a select board member, I plan to bring balance, thoughtfulness, and integrity to our entire town government. I hope to help create a business-friendly atmosphere in order to encourage growth of a dignified economy in Pownal that includes and serves all citizens, regardless of race, social status, age, or gender. I thank you for hearing me, and I invite you to join me on Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Public Library for coffee and conversation. I will not be taking questions or participating in debates tonight. Special thanks to Cat TV for providing us this opportunity to reach the voters. Peg Access TV is, I think, the last bridge between the people and our government. And they too are at risk now of being shut down by the state legislature. You got to support your Peg Access TV. Thank you and good night.
Jody Morrison. Jody's not here. Sharon Nichols.
Hi, my name is Sharon Nichols. I've been a resident of Pownal for 62 plus years. I was appointed to one of the vacant lister positions in May, of which I'm the chair. I have been to seminars and have completed many webinars that have been provided. The position of listers requires extensive computer work, teamwork, and knowledge, of which I am told takes 3 years. Be patient, is what they tell me. With my background in accounting and being a business owner for many years, I feel I could be an asset to the town. Thank you.
Marlena. Ramon.
Good evening. My name is Marlena Palan, and I'd first like to take a moment to thank the Friends of Pownal for hosting this evening's candidate event. I've been a member of Pownal since 2007. Both my children were students at the Oak Hill Children's Center and Pownal Elementary School. I had the honor of being the local Girl Scout leader for 9 years. I also served on the PTA, Mount Anthony PTSA, and I've also written several grants for the community. Being a leader in the community allowed me to create relationships with our local educational facilities, businesses, and nonprofit groups. These relationships provided me opportunities to understand what the residents want, how they like to see Pownal grow, and what opportunities they would like to see for their families. I decided to run for the select board because I started to notice situations where the board was straying from board business. I believe in appreciative dialogue, free of harassment, bias, bullying, and bigotry. I'm an individual community member. I'm not running as part of a group or a quorum. I'm not running to block community growth, learn about inside opportunities, or how to enrich oneself or my family. I'm an independent ideology, so I will not block vote for the benefit of a few. Instead, I will use my vote for the benefit of many. A vote for me reflects the community's voice, your voice, not my voice. However, I am a stickler for rules and regulations. Knowing what they are, having spent many years in compliance and process improvement, working in the explosive manufacturing, healthcare, and digital data processing industries at both the local and federal levels. I will ensure we are streamlining processes and being fiscally responsible to avoid costly waste. I will challenge when I see we are not following established protocols, working outside the purview of state and local laws, or ignoring established policies and procedures. I promise to ensure every bid proposal, job applicant is measured based on merit, talent, utilizing the standard scoring methodology to equally be applied free from personal bias. I thank you for your time. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Thank you.
Jamie Percy.
Good evening. Thank you for putting this event on, and thank you all for coming out and hearing us tonight. It's all of you and all your thoughts and conversations that keep our town going. A little bit about me. I went to school here, graduated out of Mount Anthony, went into service, then came back. I've worked at the Veterans Home for 20-plus years, BGS for 8.5 years. And with that experience, I've worked with doing RFPs, so I understand how to write the proposals and the specifics involved, so we're not going to get hit with a bunch of add-ons. And the importance of staying to the contracts. I judge things by the facts. I listen to everyone, because this town is about everybody. But if we can't take and weed through the facts, through the emotions of the divide that we have in our town right now, that is just horrible. There's a lot of good groups, a lot of individual groups in our town, as well as joints that have absolutely wonderful ideas for our town that will not just help our town, but help our state. And it's very important that we work together on that. I am a team player, volunteer firefighter, 25-plus years. Thank you very much for coming out.
And Jamie, are you Jamie or Harry? I'm still confused.
Well, I'm both on my birth certificate. Want me to explain that? I will.
All right, an easier one, Angie. Is Angie here? Angie Rawling is not here. Elizabeth Rowe.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Rowe. I'm running for the remaining one-year seat of Nelson Brownell. I was born and raised in Bennington, Vermont. I am firstly a mother of 3 daughters, 14-year-old twins and a 10-year-old, all girls, so it's very dramatic in my house every morning. I kind of feel like if I can survive that in the morning, I can survive anything. I'm currently employed at Mount Anthony High School. I'm the Records and Guidance Secretary. Every day, 20 million kids come into my office and have 20 million things to say, and I listen to every single one, give them guidance, direction, and just the ear to listen to them. I think that's very important to hear what they're saying. They are our future. And with all of that being said, I don't want to give you a generic campaign. I don't want to give you promises that I can't keep. What I can promise is that I will always be honest and transparent with everything that's thrown in front of me. I will try my hardest and work with every single person in a positive way. What's important to me is welcoming new businesses and encouraging the businesses that we have and supporting, totally did that backwards, I'm sorry. Let me look. Supporting local businesses and welcoming new businesses. I see the need for activities of our youth as well as our elderly. I'd like to see a trail system for all to use. Community gardens would be nice. I certainly value the roots here. I want to preserve the wholeness, the wholesomeness, beauty, and integrity of this place we call home. I am listening to what the people of Pownal are saying. I hear you, and I promise to do what is best for you and to work as hard as I can as a team to help make this positive change. Thank you.
And Tammy Soul. No Tammy here. So we're going to have a little exercise in efficiency. We're going to take a 2-minute stretch. No food allowed. You can look, but you can't take anything. While we're stretching, standing and stretching, candidates, the select board will come and take a seat here, and then we'll move into the Q&A. Correct, Rosemary?
Testing.
Yeah, indeed. So,
though, retirement is much better. I will just ask that if you raise your hand, do you want to make some statements? Or if you raise your hand, Dave will recognize you. When you've been recognized, if you would come up here to the mic. I think what we're going to do, because of the camera and this, is put the mic this way so that you can address the candidates and we can hear you also. Please identify yourself when you come up and ask your question. The candidate will answer the question, and this is not a debate in the sense of challenging what is said after that, okay? This is just, you can ask a clarification question, I guess, but.
In a 1 minute
And
answer.
the question should be concise, and we've asked the candidates to give quick answers to that so we can entertain a number of questions. So we've asked that they have 1 minute to answer, and we have a timekeeper that's going to give them the 30-second warning. All right? And thank you for cooperating on the first part so well.
And Rosemary, I think it's important that, correct me if I'm wrong, that people identify whether they're asking a specific candidate only a question or they would like a general question answered by all candidates.
Right, that is correct. But even if you ask a particular candidate a question, we will then ask the remaining candidates, whoever wants to respond to that question also. And we'll do it in we have a method for doing this. We're going to do it in alphabetical order, okay, after the person who has answered. So if Brian is asked a question, then we're going to start over here with Ron, and he can then go. But then we don't want Ron to always have the first word and Elizabeth to always have the last word. So this next question, if Ron started it, then it's going to be John Bushi that answers the next one, etc. Okay? Or John? I guess John decided he wasn't going to answer questions either. If we'll do, whoever's here will answer the questions, but there's a sequence so that there's no priority on who gets to answer. Okay? So are we clear before we start?
Candidates have any questions or concerns? You okay?
Oh, no pressure, just 1 minute to answer whatever.
As long as there's no singing competition.
No singing. Singing is definitely out.
All right, I'm in.
This mic works?
Yeah.
Not very well.
This mic works, and you'll just pass it up and down the aisle. All right? All right, I'm going to sit.
Without further ado, let's open it up.
My name's Jenny Dewar, former select woman. We had no training when I joined the board. There was a fair amount of confusion as a result. My recommendation would be a mandatory orientation for the new board that includes current and returning board members. How would you go about making that happen?
That's to everyone in general.
That is a general question to every single person running for the board.
Ron, you get to go first.
Well, there's a select board manual, which I got one in my garage. It's kind of old, but I'm sure they still print them out. And that's, you're supposed to read that. That'll give you some relativity of how it works, you know, the procedures and all that stuff. But also my advice to any new person going on there, keep still for a little while till you learn the ropes. You just have to answer the question if you don't have a good answer. I'm like a lawyer. I like to know the answer before I answer the question.
Candidates, be sure to hold that relatively close.
One thing I forgot to mention was I was on the board for 3 years prior to this. And during that time, I did attend either 2 or 3 seminars that are put on. Sometimes they're in Rutland, sometimes Montpelier. But there is different training out there. Like Ronnie said, there is a manual. I have looked at the manual. Haven't read everything. I'm not a speaker, and I'm not. But there is training out there for people who want that training.
As far as whether or not, I almost don't even need this. All right. As far as whether or not training should be mandatory or not, I would like to know whether or not it's required by the state first before we try to enforce it on people. And if there's resources available, like recommended courses that the state says, hey, as a select board, you should take this course, this course, this course, and then try to coordinate with having either somebody come down to do it, whether it be a webinar or going someplace to do it. So that would be my feeling on mandatory training. But I do feel it would be a good idea for any incoming or current select board member to have training.
I'll echo what Brian just said in lieu of time, but I'll also add that the auditor that provided us with the financial audit last Thursday made a very, very important comment. And that was, anybody can be elected. It doesn't matter what your skill set is. It doesn't matter how competent in the function of the board you are. And it's really, really critical that individuals who get selected to the select board are in essence holding all of the town's business at their fingertips. And you really need to be not educated in terms of, having a master's degree, but you need to make sure that you're educated in terms of what you can and can't do and how to operate the board. And it's really important that if it's not mandatory, it should be. Otherwise, that's where you make costly mistakes.
Thank you. I actually asked this question to Nelson Brownell, and he let me know that city and leagues do training, and then he informed us about the actual manual also, and there is other trainings available. But I know personally, by sitting on the board of trustees at the Vets Home, that we started a mentor system for any new board members so they can learn with you, and so they're not just going into it raw, and that they can understand how we work and how the policies and procedures go down. So I think that's important because there's going to be a lot of new people, no matter who gets elected this year, but we should be working on something because this isn't going to be the last time. Thank you.
I agree with what everyone has said. Honestly, I've been reading the manual, and there are times where I've read a page and just thought I need to reread it over and over again because it's not the funnest read out there. I do believe that there definitely needs to be some kind of training with this, but again, I think it's a lot of learn as you go, unfortunately. But I'm sure that there are things available for us to do to learn this.
Another question?
Hi, my name's David Fowle. My question was for Fred Miller, and I guess he decided to leave, which I find very unfortunate and a little disconcerting. I don't know if anybody knows, maybe he had something else he had to do. But my question to Fred, which I'd be curious what other people had to answer as well, is he mentioned something about he was sick of the circus atmosphere. And I'm curious what he meant by that and what he thought caused that. And so I guess I'd love to hear what other people would have to say about that as well.
Mike, you're up first in this rotation.
Oh, wow, lucky me. If you've been watching the meetings on TV and stuff like that, it appears these last couple of years that things have just been tabled. We'll get to it. Opened under the paper. You can't run a town like that. When something comes up, you got to handle it and get it settled as fast and as possible as you can. But once again, if you've been watching the meetings, you know what's going on. That's about all I can say.
I can't speak for Fred Miller on what he feels as far as a circus atmosphere, but from my opinion and my perspective, a lot of it, I think, could revolve around when people go to speak, it's not so much, it seems like it's not so much they're asking a question, but it's taking the opportunity to just grab some camera time and trying to like put the spotlight on themselves and almost hijack the meeting and turn it into what they want. I feel that's inappropriate for the use of the select board. If you have an issue to bring before the board, then you should be addressing the board, not grandstanding. If you have a legitimate concern, then great, address it to the board, let the town and the voters decide if it's important and should be addressed. That's how I feel about it.
Where to begin? My personal belief is that the circus may be referring to bullying and harassing of board members, employed staff, community members bringing personal issues to the board during open community forum time, which the board is not there to referee who said what about who on Facebook. When you do bring up legitimate information and question, oh, I don't know, things like the voter law not being followed, you get shunned and all sorts of mean things get said about you. To me, that's the circus. There's laws, there's rules, there's regulations, there's policies, there's procedures that need to be followed. And there's no decorum in the meeting, or there's little decorum in the meeting. And to me, the circus will stop when decorum is back. Because we all want to focus on the positivity and Pownal pride. And when you focus on the positivity and Pownal pride, the negativity will start to subside.
I believe there's, at times, a lack of respect, generally to the board and vice versa out there. In the olden days, if they didn't want to deal with something, they would go into executive session. And then they would question whatever was going on. Therefore, they didn't have to deal with the public comment. I feel that if you're going to take and run a meeting, you should run it by Robert's rules. They're put in there for gentlemen's reasons. Plain and simple, it's an easy way. You follow the steps, each subject, and everybody gets a chance to speak on the subject in a fair manner. But you need to take and be a self-thinker and be able to stick to the facts. And if you have something to bring up, if you brought it up to the town manager, maybe it's something the town manager should already discuss with the board, saying there needs to be a, sorry.
I'm a firm believer in treating people with respect, and I think to be on the select board, you should be leading by example. I think that the personal attacks on people are completely unacceptable, and I will not stand for it whatsoever. I just think people need to treat each other with respect.
I'm going to suggest keep that mic on that table. And use this one for here, and when people come up, just grab this mic.
All right, as far as I'm concerned, I was always a proponent of having people vent. And I believe that there should be a time at the meeting, but not throughout the meeting. You have a public comment period, it should be, I don't care if it's in the beginning or at the end, but it would all be done in that period, not throughout the whole meeting to disrupt everything that's going on. And I'm a little tired of the, people jumping in without, sometimes they're not even addressed. It should be, raise your hand or whatever you gotta say. Make it short and be respectful. That's it.
Next question.
Rich. My name is Rich Ryder, 40-year resident of the town of Pownal, and first I'd like to commend all of you and wish you the best of luck just for stepping up and doing what you're doing. That's a big thing. Route 7 is a gateway to our town, both north and south, and it's not very attractive. I don't know whether it's due to archaic zoning laws or what, but I'd like to know what each one of you would propose to do to not just clean up Route 7, but our town in general. Somebody had mentioned abandoned properties. That's one thing that I hadn't heard in a while, and I'd like to know what you would do to bring Pownal pride back to here so that when people drive through our community, it'll be a place they want to live and not just drive through.
We'll start with you, Brian. 1 minute answers.
Well, I don't know if 1 minute's going to be enough to answer that question. As far as abandoned properties, when I mentioned that statement, I was referring to properties that have gone into foreclosure and residents have left. I've had numerous residents approach me about a specific property that is now overrun with rats to the point where it's now infesting neighboring properties to the tune where the neighboring properties are spending thousands of dollars out of their own pockets to exterminate it. I would like to see the town enforce current zoning laws and current health laws that are on the books to start to clean up these properties. As far as dilapidated properties driving through town, if it's a building that's not being used and the person's just letting it fall into disarray, then maybe we should have some zoning laws to try to address that or use the current ones. I do believe in private citizens' rights. If somebody doesn't want to paint their house, then that's their business, they don't have to. But if it becomes a health and safety hazard, then it needs to be addressed by the town.
Again, I'm going to echo what Brian just said in lieu of time, and I'm just going to add, there's laws on the books. Follow them.
That's basically, we need to take and follow the laws we have. The town's set forth. If we need to take and revise them, we need to take a better look at the situation so we can clean up our town.
I would agree with what everyone has said. Again, to go back to, I think that the community really needs to come together. We have to figure something out. I don't have specific answers. Definitely needs to be addressed. That's all I have to say.
Back to you, Ron.
Well, I believe in people's liberties. Some people see an old hay rake as a beautiful piece of art. Some people see it as a piece of junk. But that's public opinion. Now, well, as far as cleaning up things, I think we should at least follow the state guidelines. They're already presented. We all know what they are. And that would make a big difference in the appearance of the town. As far as passing a whole bunch of new laws, we got all kinds of individuals, we all have a different thought. And that would have to take some meetings and hash it out democratically or whatever. That's all.
2 years ago, at the town meeting, Mrs. Palmer sat there and complained about it and how messy some properties have gotten. 2 years, the board has done nothing. We have bylaws, we have rules, and to the best of my knowledge, zoning administrator handles them. There's been no pressure from the zoning administrator. Maybe it's time to look for a new one. You guys are the voters.
Yes.
Is this on? My name is Mike Slattery. I want to commend all of you. I think it's a great thing that you're all running. We're expecting a lot, Not that we have the right to, but we are expecting a lot. I think Pownal has a couple of problems. Aside from some infighting, we've seen that go on for years. The things I'm concerned about in just completing the town plan, it's a pretty aggressive vision for this town. And in doing the research for the town plan, I think the biggest problem that we have is we have an aging population. Vermont has a decreasing population, decreasing fertility rate, and we need economic development. So to kind of piggyback with that last question about who would want to live here when you see stuff like that, aside from that, let's just pretend that's all cleaned up. How do we get economic development here? I'll open it up to the whole board.
You first, Barb.
How do we get economic development? Well, you can't sum it up in 1 minute, but we do have to start with cleaning up Pownal. We also have to start with coming together more as a board and following what the voters want. When the voters vote for things, we need to act on them. We don't need to take 3 years to put the action into action. How long have we been trying to get the Economic Development Committee's, the bylaws for the new zoning regulation, yeah, I'm tongue-tied right now. Mike, help me out here. Oh, it is right, okay. Getting them rewritten. And it's been, I think, 3 months and we're still debating on which vendor we're gonna give the grant to consult on it. I mean, that's inefficient. And it just keeps pushing things off and off and off. And when you wait so long, once you get a grant, if you miss the deadline, you have to give that money back. So we just need to make sure we're moving forward and making progress.
I know presently our town administrator has been going around looking at properties and talking to property owners, the locations, whether they've been near the general highway or the railroad and that kind of stuff, to see what might be viable for other businesses out there. And I think that's a good start, and besides cleaning up the way as everybody wishes. Some people, they like their stuff. But I've even tried to state this at the Montpelier level. What will the legislatures do to help us down here or within our state for, or what can they do to, they've driven a lot of the regulations that they've imposed. They've driven a lot of companies out of our state. So
everybody had some really good points. It's a tricky question. Based on everything that they said, on a smaller scale, I think we need to take advantage of our resources here. There's farmer markets in Bennington and Williamstown. There isn't one for Pownal, and we have so many farms here. We have the opportunity to build or to make trails. We abut Massachusetts and New York. You go to Wilmington and there are people coming from other states. We could have, that could bring in revenue. I think there's little things here that really need to be focused on to make better and then make it bigger.
There isn't time enough to address that problem. The state actually needs to cut back on their regulations. This is a very business unfriendly state. It's one of the highest tax states there is. We got more regulations. Even the small mom and pop stores can't stay in business. This is an awful situation, but it's all created. The town, I don't think we have any power to do anything other than maybe say, hey, look, we'll try to get you some. There's no water. It's good. There's sewer only in certain spots. So we really don't have a whole bunch to offer. So, I mean, but the state should step up and stop demanding people to pay more taxes and had a lot less freedoms. I was involved with a guy trying to get his business started, and they gave us about a 6-month setback, just through regulations. Ridiculous. I'm done.
Yeah, it's a tough one to answer, but we had the most beautiful piece of property just sitting idle, not doing nothing. Years ago, that was a booming piece of property. You know, we have the property, all we gotta do is get the businesses in here. How? Well, that's gonna be a hard decision. Like Ronnie said, we don't have water there, we have sewer, but, you know, it's something to look forward to. We got a beautiful piece of property down there.
What property are you talking about?
The racetrack property. And there's other properties, you know, we had a couple factories in here before and people just argued until they shut down and now they're, where do businesses go? And you can't yell at them and expect them to stay at the same time, you know? And there's regulations, there's a lot of them.
Nobody seems to have addressed what, to me, would be the biggest seller. Pownal is literally half the tax rate of any surrounding town. There's no reason we shouldn't have businesses wanting to move in here, at the very least to take advantage of that. We have Williamstown right across the border, North Adams, huge college town. We have Bennington College, Southern Vermont College. We are surrounded by colleges. There's no reason other than, I agree with Ronnie, that state regulations play a big part of it, but also municipal services. Yes, there is no septic service, and it is a nightmare trying to get septic permits and permitting from the state. I've gone through it. It costs a fortune. I'm sure anybody who's put a new septic in can attest to that. So I think part of it is regulations from the state, but I think on a local level, the town could do more to tout that we are lower taxes. We have a beautiful location. It's quiet. You know, I'm not looking to bring in a huge factory, but there is definitely room for growth. We just need to target it properly.
Hi, Sue Perriman, local, I'm on the select board right now, till the end of March. I just want to remind everybody that we don't own the racetrack. We've tried to put things there for years and years and years. I'd love to see something down there too, but we're not the owners of the racetrack. I'd like to know from everybody how they feel about the new town office, whether we should build one from scratch, or we should move the Historical Society one over, or just everybody's opinion on the town office.
You first, Jane.
I'm behind the times as far as all the facts on this, but personally I think we need to look at the viability of how much each option is going to cost us. That's the first and foremost. And right now we all know that our town office is crowded. We do need a new location. Where, I honestly can't tell you because I haven't done enough research on that at this time. But I think we need it, without seeing the dollars and cents, whether we knock down a building and bring in a prefab or whatever. But there again, that's where I was talking about the RFPs. Whatever we do, we need to have our dots in line, our T's crossed. Therefore, we don't get hit with a lot of add-ons because we may budget one thing and then it'll turn into a larger bill for the town because that's probably going to have to be bonded, I'm thinking. So, thank you.
I agree with everything that Harry has said. There's definitely a need for a town hall. Just going into right now, it's just not very welcoming at all. There's definitely a need. I'm not sure what the best choice is. It needs to work for the people of Pownal, and it needs to be, I think, simple, affordable.
Ron?
Well, we've discussed this thing now for few years anyway. And my thoughts on that is, I'm under the assumption that there's going to be something on the ballot. I want the people to decide. I'm not deciding. I'll go along with what the majority of the people want. That's why they have votes. That's democracy. It's not up to me to, I want this or I want that. I mean, I know we need one, but as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be on the ballot. It's going to be on the ballot. People will vote on it.
It's not on the March ballot.
No, but it's going to be on the ballot pretty soon. He's got RFPs coming back, supposedly. I don't know. All I get some information that I'm given. But I'm not deciding for the town. That's why it got held up the first time. They never even voted on whether we would have this. And a lot of the citizens asked me, they said, what is it? In the back seat? We'd like to vote on whether or not we want to town hall.
I agree, it should be up to the voters, but also probably one thing the voters don't understand is how much money's already been spent. And a shovel ain't been put in the ground yet. We have the ideal spot right in the center of town that was bought for a new town hall. As far as what type to go with, once again, it's up to the voters, but I'd lean to stick-built. Modular, I own a modular, I wouldn't recommend it to a dog, truthfully. I'd go stick-built myself.
I do agree that the town needs a new town hall. Anybody that has been to the existing town hall can attest to how small it is. It is old and inefficient as far as heating and cooling. It's outdated electrical. There's been reports from what I've heard secondhand that there could be a mold issue in there, which if we don't do something, we're gonna go the same route that eventually Bennington did with their courthouse, where eventually the state said, you're done, get out, tear it down. Now start over. So if we don't choose something soon, the state's going to make us, and then we're not going to have as much say over it. So I lean toward an entirely new building. I don't want it, I appreciate the Senior Citizen Center offer of donation, but moving an existing structure that old has all its own issues associated with it, and I can foresee that adding added cost that's unforeseen. I lean toward a new building, but I agree with Ronnie, it is up to the voters. Let them decide what they want to do, and I would abide by it if I get elected.
I'm going to touch base on something that Mike said, which I completely agree with. We've talked about it, we've purchased property for it, but we just keep talking about it. We need to make sure we're being efficient in what the voters want. So we need to be transparent. We need to make sure you know how much money has been spent already and what has been spent on. We need to make sure you understand the different choices that are coming in and the different proposals so that you, the voters, can make the decision regarding the viability of the new building. Do you want one that's going to last 5 years, 10 years, or 30 years? How efficient is it going to be with heating and cooling, et cetera, et cetera? So we need to just be careful, but we need to progress forward and stop talking about it.
Doug?
I have the same question.
Same question?
Yes.
Jim?
Hello, my name is Jim Kosas. First of all, I want to commend you all. I mean, I've just never seen so many people I don't know. And it's welcoming to have you come here and talk to us. Unfortunately, I'm disappointed some left. I did have a few questions for the ones that left. Number one is, actually it's a general question for all of you. Yes, we may have low taxes, but there's a lot of people that can't afford it. So we also have people working on the road crew that aren't being paid really as well as they should be. They do a fantastic job. So my question is, after a 30% increase in taxes, this year it's going to be very level, if not decrease in taxes in the road in general. I don't talk about the school. The school is in a whole separate entity in itself. So I'd like to know, what can we do to help increase the pace for some of these road crew, at the same time trying to keep our taxes with a small increase, all right? I don't mind paying a little bit every year, but I don't want to pay a huge amount with monies being transferred from reserve to different things. I get confused in where the budget is every year. That's question one. Question two is, I've heard...
One question.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. My role as a moderator. Let's deal with one, but then if we have time, you can add number two.
All right, ATVs. I just want to know where ATVs stand.
You want about the road crew first?
Yep.
Elizabeth.
Okay, as far as the taxes, I really have to sit down and look at the budget. In all honesty, I will learn this and get a better answer for you. Your second one, ATVs.
He hasn't asked.
No. Oh, he hasn't asked it. Okay, just what do you want to pay? Okay. It's really, I have to learn that.
Well, I don't know. I don't see anybody quitting the road crew or anything. And I think we've done a pretty good job in the last 5 years of giving them substantial raises. I'm sorry, I never got raises like that, and I worked in the manufacturing sector for years. So I think we're catching up. So Jim, sit tight. We'll get there eventually. Because a lot of places got 2 and 3%. They did better than that. Every one of our people. So that's the first thing, and they are doing a good job. I'll grant you that. But we've got other things that we've got to spend money on. We're purchasing a gravel bed, and I'm glad there's some people here so they'll know a little bit about that. That is a valid article. And I encourage everybody to vote for that, because that is going to give us about 30 years, they tell me, of gravel. And it isn't going to cost us any more than what we've been spending. We'll have it paid for in 6 or 7 years. So consider that when you vote. Thank you.
I'm with Jim, but obviously you never make enough money, right? But I'm one of them guys. I don't work for the town, but I'm a CDL driver. We're a dying breed. Just go to any town, they're hurting for help. Why? Because it's not a well-paying job for what we have to go through. You think you guys go through a lot to get your license? We go through a lot more.
I would first like to say that I think the road crew for Pownal does an outstanding job, and I think over the last 10 to 15 years, the town has done a fantastic job of modernizing the road crew, getting new equipment, contracting out where appropriate, and my heart goes out to those guys, especially this time of year and especially tomorrow. Those guys are probably going to go days without sleep. So I thank them for their hard work and their effort, and you can see where they do the work. There are areas that are neglected, but that is due to time constraints and people. It's nothing to do with them personally. As far as raises for them, I feel that, I kind of agree with Ron on that. The best way to help the town overall would be to start the cleanup, try to draw in new business, increase the tax base through new business and economic growth, increase the tax rate overall, or not tax rate, but tax base. I don't want to see taxes raised. I don't think anybody in their right mind would ever say, I want higher taxes. I certainly don't. I'm a property owner like most of you. So I want to keep my taxes low.
I also want to keep my taxes low. But unfortunately, in today's society, unless you have revenue-generating businesses to help with your tax base, the burden of increase in taxes are going to fall on the taxpayers. The cost of living tax, or just the cost of living increases every year, the cost of fuel to heat buildings that the town owns, the cost of fuel for the trucks and the maintenance on the vehicles. Those are all things that are just going to increase year after year. But the other thing that we have to really make sure that we're paying attention to is the select board is theoretically the employer of paid town employees in different divisions of the town. And we do need to make sure that we're providing performance reviews and that we have a plan in place to help out our crews that work for the town to have sustainable salaries.
I was going to bring up performance reviews also, yearly. But the other thing people need to realize is that our employees also, we have to look at the insurance, the retirement. They're getting a package. They're not just getting a salary. So we have to take all that into effect when we're giving raises as well as the reviews. So it's fair across the board. I don't realistically know where their dollar amount, their wages match surrounding areas, but I do know that they got a pretty good deal this year compared to the past. I was at that meeting. They were talking about a little bit of it before they went into executive session.
I have a feeling Jim Kosas wants to ask another question, but to be fair, let's just get a sense of how many others think they have questions. I'm just getting a sense of how much more time we need. Just one other at the moment? Okay, let's start here.
Hello, I'm Wendy Klein-Faller, and I'd like to join everybody else by congratulating all of you for a stupendously informative evening. My question goes back to a focus group meeting that many of us attended a couple of years ago, where we brainstormed about different endeavors to move Pownal forward. And that's a term that I've heard several of you talk about this evening. One particular initiative I'm interested in hearing from all of you, which was around recreation. And perhaps that gets to Jim's ATV, but I'm curious to know what you would term priorities in terms of harnessing the beauty of our great town and moving the recreational initiatives forward. Thank you.
We're back to starting with you, Ron.
Well, I don't know about the recreation thing. We got a ball field there in Pownal. It's hardly ever used. It was used for quite a few things for quite a while. We used to play soccer there. Little League was there. We used to play our Sunday beer games there. A lot of fun was to happen there. There's trails all over the place for people who feel the idea of hiking and this and that. My neighbor came from a bigger city and says, "Wow, you're putting in all new sewer lines. Why don't you put in sidewalks?" We can only put in what we can afford. I'm sorry, I'm the conservative up here, I guess. But we got to have money. All these things take money. It doesn't take money to set it up. It takes money to maintain it. That's where the money goes. So that would have to take a pretty long discussion too.
Yeah, years ago we used to have more recreation. I was listening to a guy talking over there, why don't we bring back the river rafts? Boating in the Hoosick, rafting in the Hoosick, it's all that's recreation. It wasn't paid, it was volunteered. We lost our volunteers. You know, all that's recreation, it takes time, and nobody wants to step up and do the time no more. Me, for myself, I'm one for more recreation.
My opinion for as far as recreation, I can attest to this. I live right below the 700 plus acres that the town purchased through the land conservatory that has sat idle and we've done nothing with. It sits there idle, the trails are overgrown. When the town first bought that, you could still drive a car on a majority of those roads up there, except for a washed out on Wood Road. I feel that through conversations I've had with numerous people that are connected with other organizations through the state and volunteer organizations, there is money available to fix the roads and open the trails to where it would be minimal cost to the town. And once a trail is open, people are walking it, people are gonna clear their own, they're gonna clear deadfall. It's gonna open it up, hunters are gonna go up there. I can attest as a hunter. If I go check the trails out during the summer and there's trees down, I'm gonna clear it. I think as far as hiking trails, you're gonna find people are gonna volunteer more and help maintain it. I'm not looking to put a store out in the middle of the woods. I'm not looking to put guardrails up. Just open the mountain, bring the hikers in.
It would be great to open the mountain and bring the hikers in and the hunters and the trail riders and all that. That's fantastic. But we also have another segment of recreation. And that segment are, I'm just going to call them field players. Soccer, lacrosse, softball. We don't have any of that in the southern part of Pownal. Kids that want to play softball need to go over to Deerfield, Mass, or a little bit further north. Or they have to go to Bennington to play on that team because we don't have it here. Kids that want to play soccer competitively have to go to New York State or Massachusetts. So we spend our money there because that's where we spend our time. We can do a lot in this area. There's a lot of kids. There's a lot of kids in neighboring towns that would like to not have to drive to Shendahoa and all the way out to Petersburg and all that. We just need to capitalize on it.
I believe if we could bring recreation back here, it would be awesome. When I was a kid, we did a lot of things. I mean, we had different groups. They did Strawberry Fest. We had bike races, different road races, whether it was running or whatever, and a little picnic afterwards and stuff. I mean, it was all community-based. You know, the kids did an activity, the parents came. It was community-based on the weekends. It was awesome, and the community pulled together. I saw that a lot more back then. I know for a time we lost somebody mowing the lawns, or mowing our fields, the baseball fields. I know my father was coming down with his own mower, and I helped him a few times to take and mow it. I mean, and unfortunately there isn't the volunteers that we had. There is groups that we still have, and I believe there's other grant money upstate. It's just we need to take and educate ourselves how to find it.
I am 100% for recreational activities in Pownal. My family is outside pretty much every single day, rain, freezing cold, you name it, we're out there. To go back to what Brian had said about the 700 acres that we're just waiting to get into, I think that that would be a great opportunity to bring the community together. I know groups of people that would give their time to help do that. I think people are just waiting for that to happen, and have the trail systems, like I said earlier, for everyone to use. And I know we would have to coexist somehow with ATV riders and hikers, etc. And again, it's abutting other states. We'd just be bringing people in, and I think that's one of our huge resources that we have to use.
Did you get your question answered, Jim?
Actually, I did, but I just wanted to reinforce that I just want to make sure you all speak up at one time during this discussion of whether the roads will continue to be kept ATV free, and that maybe some kind of educational program is just put out there just so that everyone understands what are the rules and regulations. The one recreational activity that I'd hate to see continue is the drinking and driving on all the roads. I'm sure you've all seen the beer cans on the roads, and I'm just worried that someone's going to get hurt either ATV or drinking and driving at night. Thank you.
Oh dear, yes.
Jim, are you talking about what is our opinion on ATVs on the trail roads or ATVs on the established driving roads?
Driving roads.
Okay, because that's completely different terms.
Well, that sounds like an actual question then. What is your position on ATVs on our town roads?
Right.
Oh boy, where are we? Mike, I think we're starting with you.
I'm one of them guys. I think the way the ordinance is you can go on the road, trail to a trail. I mean, no matter what you do, or somebody's gonna go all the way on the road. There ain't no stopping it. But I think the ordinance right now is, if you get on the road, you go to the next trail.
The DOT regulations pretty much greatly limit the use of ATVs on state, town, local roads as far as what class roads, ATVs are allowed on. So the laws are already on the books. The problem is we don't have a police force in Pownal. We're extremely rural. The state police, they know. They see a four-wheeler, there's no point chasing it. First trail the four-wheeler comes to, they're gone. So the state police don't even bother. Now, I agree with Mike on this. There's really not much we can do about it. We can try to discourage it. I feel that if we try to provide a place where people can ride, I think that would alleviate part of it. So it's not about eliminating the problem, it's giving an alternative. And as far as drinking and driving, I don't think anybody in their right mind would ever say they're for it. I'm completely against it. I lost classmates when I was in school to it. And I personally, if I ever see anybody drinking and driving, I will personally call the cops and turn them in.
I just want to add one quick thing here. I can't tell you the town, but there's a town in New Hampshire that they opened up their roads. You can drive right up the main road to a store, restaurant. They love it.
I live right across the street from the ATV trails. I don't mind the ATV riders. I participate in ATV riding. I do a lot of it on my own property because I have the space to do it. Like Mike and all the others, I do get nervous when people drink and drive. And it also drives me nuts when people come off the trail and tailgate in a little pull-off right next to my house. It's not so much that I want to discourage them having fun. It is exciting to see children and families out there having a good time on a Sunday, but I dislike cleaning up all the garbage that they leave behind because I have to clean that up. Otherwise, I just have to look at it every day. So, I do have mixed feelings on this. I'm an owner, I'm a rider, and I do enjoy seeing my neighbors that live up behind me ride down the dirt road and ride over to their family's house on the weekends. It's kind of enjoyable, and it's a lot quieter than having cars and trucks driving up and down my road all day. But I do have some concerns.
I believe right now the state has statutes, as Mike was stating, for secondary roads and that are designated for ATV use. I discourage drinking and driving and all that, and the leaving of the trash on the things. The biggest thing is respect. When I was a kid, the dairy bar was on the four corners of the center of Pownal there, and the family that ran that, we would literally have permission to go from the trails up, drive right up their driveway and go all the way down to the pumpkin patch, Armstrong's, and then up to Carpenter Hill to Rice's and up through that way. We respected the property owners. There was nothing for us kids. If somebody was unloading their groceries, we stopped, help them unload the groceries. You know what, if they're riding horses, we respect you, pull over the side. I mean, why is it so hard for people not to do that this day and age?
I completely back up what Harry said about the respect. There definitely needs to be respect, and there are roads that you can legally ride on, and I just think it's important for the people of Pownal to be able to ride ATVs, to be outside with their families. I know I'd rather my kids be outside than inside playing video games. So I agree with everything everybody said, but totally back up the ATV riders.
Ron, you still have to answer. Or get to answer.
I got an answer too. I thoroughly believe in private property. That's the first thing. Another thing I disagree with is the state of Vermont again. They want you to register an ATV. Why should you register it if you can't drive it anywhere? I think that's ridiculous. They get all that tax money and everything else, and the registration money and the sales tax money, and there's no place you can ride it. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, because there's one spot I found out for White Oaks Road where you can go up into this federal land, I guess. Now that place there, I stopped and talked to the guy. He says, yeah, I could. His machine was registered in 2 states, Massachusetts and Vermont. Because I asked him, why do you register it in Vermont? Ain't no place you can ride it. Yeah, you can ride it right here. But that's the only place I know of. And you can't sell a person a machine to sell it for $5,000 to $10,000, and they pay the tax and everything, and you don't let them ride it anywhere except in their dooryard. Not everybody's got 150, 200 acres. So that's a problem that would have to be discussed higher up in the town.
If there was one more, Shannon?
Hi there, I'm Shannon Barsati. My voice is kind of shot, so I'm sorry about that. This is it's not really a question so much as it's just to let everyone know, if you didn't already, that I'm the chair of a group called Discover Pownal, and it's a group of volunteers here in Pownal, and we're working on 4 different initiatives, and Wendy mentioned the focus group that we did, that sort of formed these 4 groups. And one is recreation, one is community cleanups called Pownal Proud, one is supporting small farms in Pownal, and one is just supporting our other local businesses and promoting them, especially online and through other events. So as far as recreation goes, I think that's probably the best example of a way that community volunteers can work with the town, because it's a huge resource that we have as a town, that we have so much public land. The fact that we have almost 800 acres of land is incredible. And I totally agree that I would love to see it open again. And I'm wondering if you all support the idea of working with community volunteers as select board members to do that.
I am absolutely in support of working with community organizations. I think that one of the things that our town is lacking is civic involvement, and as a U.S. citizen, everybody should take civic involvement seriously. We have fought wars, men, women have fought and died for our right to be civically engaged and to vote, and the worst thing this country is doing right now is letting that civic engagement die. It is a travesty. So yes, I am all for civic engagement, and if I get elected, I plan to be involved as heavily as I can with trying to get the mountain open. As an adjoining landowner, I have approached the board previously the last 20 years and offered up my property as an example to cross. So yeah, I am more than willing to work on getting the mountain open.
I'd like to say one thing to clear it up for people. That land does not belong to the town of Pownal.
Can we wait till we come back to you?
I want to finish on this land that they're talking about.
Well,
the 750 acres.
But the rotation will come back to you, and you can comment on it. Sorry. Sorry, just trying to keep the order.
Did I mention earlier that I was the local Girl Scout leader? I know what it means to volunteer in this community. It's one of the things that Girl Scouts prides himself on, to make sure that we bring that civic duty and that we encourage girls to lead in their communities, whether it's through their bronze silver or gold or gold challenges. It's something that we really encourage. I love this community. I've volunteered numerous times in this community. We've run food drives for the Pownal Food Pantry. We've run coat drives. We've run a variety of things. We've donated money from cookie booth sales. In today's society, you have to operate with volunteers, and to have such a large group of people willing to volunteer is really important, and you have to take advantage of that.
I partially misspoke earlier on the volunteer part. As we do have a lot of groups here that volunteer, and when I stated that we didn't have volunteers, I should have clarified that as far as the sports side of it. Because I know when I was a coach in soccer in Bennington at the time, there was a lot of Pownal kids that came up there because they didn't have the coaches down here. So they couldn't have the program, because the first few years that I coached up there, we did come down, we played against Pownal. So I just want to clarify. That's where we do have a lot of groups, a lot of good volunteers. People are willing to take their own time and do stuff. And I would totally support that as a board member, because for 43 years of my family being down here, that's one thing my parents always strived, was community involvement. Even though we didn't have a junior membership in the Pownal Center Fire Department at the time, Frank Lamb was our chief, and I kind of was adopted and able to take and go around and work and train with these guys. So it was a great experience.
I absolutely support 100% if I were to be on the select board.
And Ron, back to you.
I just wanted to clear one thing up. That 750 acres on the West Mountain, that is Vermont Land Trust. That is not the town of Pownal. All we get to do is we can take the lumber off it. They don't pay any taxes. That's why I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I believe in private property. Private property, if somebody don't like it, they might not let you up there, but they may die someday. Then you'll get a chance to go up on somebody else. But what I'm trying to say is, that property, if you had a horse trail up there, you got to bag them before you can take them up there. There's a book that thick, Vermont Land Trust. That's everybody's taxes, folks. We're all paying for it, and we can't do anything with it. It's full of restrictions. Sorry to bring that up, but that's what it is. I've got that book home. If anybody's interested, I'll give it to them.
I'm 100% for more volunteers. Absolutely. Back when I was a coach, we would team 5 to 6 teams right here in Pownal. And ain't that we don't have the coaches or that no more. We don't have the kids no more. That's why it's down to 2 to 3 teams. That's why they played at Bennington, Williamstown, so they could play more different teams. I mean, we lost our kids. We grew up. It's, you know, we need more recreation, but we need the kids too, you know.
Mr. Winchester.
Oh. The sad thing is we've had it all. I see a lot of people here. We take no second base to recreation. Recreation takes really, really good parents. They get the kids to go. They come on, you're late for practice, Mom. You know, we've heard it all. But I mean, sponsorship is what's really important. And everything we talked about tonight is coming back to economic development. Every base you touch, it all comes back to good sponsorships. You guys all know that we had 7 or 8, we've had motels, we've had the Tammy, we've had the fire departments, we've had a lot of good sponsors and a lot of great parents. The parents need to get up and go with the kids today, and it's a tough job because mom's not staying home anymore. There's so many things here tonight, and you guys got a lot of problems. But to just touch a few bases, one is going to be taxes.
You have two tax bills. When you set them on the table, you look at your town tax, and these guys have done a pretty decent job over the years. And then you look at your other tax, and it's the school tax. And as all the kids on the school board and people know, that's a lot of it's uncontrollable. Raises, insurance, things that have gone up. So in the last 50 years, we've gone down quite a bit. But you know, we're still in there, and we're still a really good town, and we got one of the most beautiful valleys, and I'm positive that we're gonna pick some nice people out of here, and onward and upward.
I'm not sure that was a question, but rather a very appropriate proclamation, and probably a good point to pull this to a close. That's about 100 minutes of thoughtful questions and very thoughtful answers. So thank all of you for being willing to subject yourself to those questions, for struggling with them, for sharing your ideas. I think that we collectively can assure you that we will do our duty by voting enthusiastically and responsibly come March election day, and we hope that those of you elected will do yours by continuing to lead with conviction, to listening to one another, to working toward careful and thoughtful compromise in ways that move our great town forward in a positive and productive fashion. We can end with the opportunity for a 1-minute statement, but I don't think people should have to do that because they've spoken a lot.
Want to say something that they thought of.
If there's one other thing in your mind that you'd like to say, and no more than 45 seconds, let's give it a try. But then,
Or you can pass.
And you can pass.
Okay, I'd just like to thank Rosemary and the Friends of Pownal for putting this on tonight and for the invite.
Rosemary, thank you so much for hosting this event, and thank you to the Pownal School for letting us use this awesome gym that I remember coming here as a kid, and my daughter's going here now. So, as far as a closing statement, I just want to say that I am open to any and all new ideas from all citizens. It's not just about what ideas I can come up with. I do have some ideas, and I want to hear from all citizens. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I am willing to listen and work with anybody and try to move forward on anything to help improve the economic base here in town. I think Jim hit it right on the head. We can't do anything without more economic growth to increase the tax base, which gives us more revenue to try to increase things in town. So it comes back to economic growth and what we can do to try to spur that.
Okay, don't shoot me for saying this, but I am the newest member of the Economic Development Committee, and I'm very excited, but I'd love to see more females come out and join some of these committees and boards because, you know, as a mom or as a daughter of a mom who did it all, she stayed home, she ran our household efficiently. I think we need some more female voices too.
Thank you for hosting this and allowing us to be here. This is a wonderful group. A lot of good questions tonight. I do believe in a diverse board. I believe in self-thinking and a lot of walks of life. And I've listened to all of our people of Pownal because everybody has. It may not feel like an emergency to you, but when they come to you, they're going to vent. And it's our job as elected officials to then, after they vent to you, sort out the facts and see if there is something that we can help with. And if it's not something that the board can help with, direct them to where they may be able to get the help. Because that's all part of staying solid in the community. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for coming and thank you for the questions. I know that there's so much for me to learn, for me to take this position. I'm excited for the opportunity, even if I don't get voted on. And and I'm just really excited to work with everyone, and I will always listen, and I'll always be welcome to new ideas. And just thank you, everybody.
Ron, did we skip you or?
No, you didn't want to.
We're all set.
I said enough already.
Is this on? First, I'd like a round of applause now for our... And also for our moderator, David Lowe. And our timekeeper, Ruth Botso. It's not always an easy job. And I think you deserve to give yourselves a round of applause because you came out and spread the word. Pardon? Refreshments are available there. Thanks also again to Cat TV, to the Bennington Banner, because people can't come to these events and you make it possible for them to find out what's going on. So help yourself, mingle,